through the eyes of Murray and Martin.
Guten Tag. Just 1 week after Austria, it's Hockenheim, Germany and zillions of Ferrari red Michael Schumacher fans.
And it's time once again for F1 Special.
On today's programme, we spend time in the glorious Austrian countryside with new young Formula One superstar Alexander Wurz. We take a look at the drivers from the back of the grid that you seldom see. Martin takes you on a tour of Formula One's million-pound paddock motorhomes, and this week's F1 People features Ferrari's English chief mechanic, plus the action from today's qualifying.
Well, 6 to go and the race for the championship is most definitely on. As ever, qualifying is crucial. Here's what happened earlier today.
Michael Schumacher has never started his home Grand Prix from pole, and despite the enthusiastic support, the signs weren't promising today. Problems in the morning session meant Michael was in the spare. His championship rival Mika Hakkinen was sitting pretty, and 15 minutes into the session, the Finn made his move and took up his customary position at the front of the field. Provisional pole with something to spare. Less than a minute later, Schumacher made his response, but it was less than spectacular. Enough for second place, but well off Hakkinen's pace. The big guns were firing thick and fast. Almost immediately, David Coulthard set a new marker.
Yes, oh, David, you nearly lost that. This is going to put him in a superb time.
There were welcome signs of encouragement for Williams, or at least for Jacques Villeneuve. He threw everything into his second run and briefly took provisional pole. While the battle at the front was hotting up, Tora Takagi was facing a different kind of heat. With teammate Ricardo Rosset forced to sit out the session after an accident this morning, Takagi was Tyrrell's only hope, and he promptly threw his car into the tyre wall. David Coulthard was having problems of his own. The Scot, sitting in second place, was forced to abort his quest for pole when his Mercedes engine ran out of steam. Into the final 10 minutes of qualifying, and the pressure was increasing for Ferrari's number one. He got himself caught in traffic.
Diniz is in the way, turns in front of him. That's blown the lap for Michael Schumacher.
Enraged by Diniz's move, Michael let his feelings be known. Ultimately, he found himself down in 9th place, a frustrating day all round. But it was a good day for Jordan. A new spec Mugen Honda engine helped power Damon Hill to 5th place. Ralf Schumacher went one better in 4th to complete the team's best qualifying performance of the season. There was just time for one final run from Mika Hakkinen, and he upped the stakes that bit more. But as the hour was completed, there was a brief threat to the McLaren domination from Jacques Villeneuve within 0.02 of a second of David Coulthard's time. So Williams and Jordan are on the up, but McLaren are well placed to stretch their lead in the championship. Mika Hakkinen on pole for the 7th time this season. And it's the 7th 1-2 for McLaren. Jacques Villeneuve's up in 3rd place alongside Ralf Schumacher. Damon Hill, still looking for his first points this season, starts from 5th with Eddie Irvine alongside. It's an all-Benetton 4th row. 9th is Schumacher's worst of the year, and a difficult day for Johnny Herbert in 12th.
Obviously, we get the advantage on the straight line. We're pulling high speeds here on the straight line, which is very impressive. Like yesterday, we were going like 357 kilometers per hour, which is really quick. And like tomorrow in the race, we're going to see some serious speeds, I reckon.
After my engine problem, when I made the lap in the spare car set up for Mika, the track felt as if it was offering a bit more grip, but I just didn't have the feel for that car, and in hindsight, really, I just have to be thankful that Jacques didn't pit me.
It's our best performance in qualifying in competitiveness, maybe not in position, but it's every lap we could do a quick lap, and the car seems to be strong, so it's looking good for the race.
I just hope that I'm going to have a good race, and we see what happens. It's just a shame we can't carry on running our new spec engine because we just had one for the qualifying, which is going to hurt us tomorrow.
I only did 3 laps this morning, doesn't help, but it's not the main reason. I mean, Eddie is 1.4 seconds off the front. It should not be the case, but we are, so we have to find out and work and work and work.
We've just seen the top men fighting for the front rows of the grid, but what about the others at the back? They may be a bit off the pace, but their commitment and will to win is just the same. Here's James Allen.
Graham, Damon Hill's father, once said, "You meet a nicer class of person at the back of the Formula One grid." While times may have changed since his era, what's life like out of the limelight?
Back of the grid teams have similar looking hardware to the top teams, just not as much of it. Minardi's motorhome is not quite as grand as McLaren's £1 million monolith. Minardi has to run the team and build its cars on less money than Ferrari pays Michael Schumacher. But look at the publicity he generates. So does he have sympathy for the back markers?
You do, yes. On the other side, there's only 22 of us guys around in Formula One. On that side, you can be proud to be one of them, and if you don't have the car to compete, then you compete for whatever possibility you have.
We come with a motivation to move up the grid. I mean, if in the last race you're 20th, you want to be 15th, and you want to score points, and you just want to improve the overall performance.
Prima vinceva, ma in Formula 1 in questo momento è impossibile, ma l'importante è andare forte e dimostrare che uno può andare anche bene in altre squadre.
Tyrrell's Japanese newcomer Taiga Takagi has certainly caught the eye this year with his impressive speed, but he's also had some problems adapting to Formula One. Taiga, is it as difficult in Formula One to drive as everybody thinks? The boys at the back are there to make up the numbers, and to them a point would be as precious as a victory to Schumacher or Häkkinen. In Formula One, you're just as good as the car you drive. Without the resources of a major manufacturer behind you, you're never going to win. Sometimes the back markers are lapped 2 or 3 times in a race. It's not always easy to get out of the way.
There's a lot of pressure, the media and everything, everyone is looking what you're doing, and if you put a foot wrong, the press gets really hard on you. I'm not too bothered to be a superstar. That's not my aim. My aim is to be there, to be quick, to win championship. I think the other side comes with your success.
It must be difficult, but you can't miss what you've never had. So if you've never ran at the front, then you have the motivation and desire to try and get forward, and you, I guess, have to accept your position.
Well, I'm starting to understand what it means to be further away from the start lights. There's a lot less pressure, basically. It's true that it often happens, that the back markers just stay in the way and don't look in their mirrors. So I've paid special attention to that this year, to always look in the mirrors and to completely move out of the way.
And what's Tiger's view? And what about Damon Hill? Does he share his father's rose-tinted view of the back markers?
No, I'm sorry, I don't have any sympathy for people who are at the back. They only have themselves to blame.
The most famous team in Formula One are Ferrari, and they're about as Italian as you're going to get. In which case, you may expect all the mechanics to be Italian too. Well, it's not so. Their chief mechanic is a Brit. He's been in Formula One for many years, and he's the subject of this week's F1 People.
My name is Nigel Stepney, and I'm the chief mechanic of Ferrari. We arrive on a Thursday. We check out to make sure all the telemetry is working. We start the engines, and we do pit stop practice as well. After qualifying on the Saturday, we then prepare the cars for the race. We have about 8 hours of work from when we finish qualifying to finish the car Saturday night. On Sunday, we have a warm-up of half an hour, which is normally just supposed to be a shakedown for the car to check out the systems, but sometimes it involves a little bit more than that, depending on what the drivers decide to do. What I do during the race, I'm the guy who's putting the fuel in on the fuel rig system, hopefully putting it in. In Italy, you're probably under more pressure being at Ferrari. There's a lot more people looking at you, and if you do something wrong, you're not under the same coverage in the papers, in the television as you are in Italy, so it's important you have to get it right. We practice 30, 40 times a weekend, our pit stop procedures, our practices. So I think this year during the race and in the past during all the races, I think we're one of the best teams in our pit stops. I started off in Shadow in 1977. That was my first Formula One team. In 1979 I moved to Lotus because Lotus was a step up the ladder to move to a team that was one of the top teams. And I went to Benetton for 3 years. But looking at it, I thought there's no way that I'm an Englishman, I'm ever going to be able to work at Ferrari. But when the opportunity came along, there was nothing to stand in my way. Senna was a fabulous person, fabulous driver. Enjoyed working with him very much because he gave 100% and he expected the same from the people around him. So I got on very well with him. And the next one is Schumacher. I mean, he's not the same as Senna, he's different, but he has the same capacity, mentality, the same breed. One of the best.
That's it for a few moments, but there's plenty more to come, including Grand Prix's new sensation, Alexander Wurz, and Martin having a look at Formula One's incredible offices on wheels.
Welcome back. Well, here I am in the Formula One paddock where all the real business is done. Although actually finally deals are often done on windy, deserted runways because people don't like to be seen walking in and out. It's too easy for everybody to second guess your business. This is headquarters where Bernie Ecclestone is based. He likes to keep a lot of space around him so he can look down the paddock and see what's going on. If you want to go and see him, you've got to wonder whether he's in because the glass is darkened. And you see many people walking up to the front door of this bus and then just standing and knocking like a spare bottle of champagne at a wedding while they sort of look around and think, I wonder if Bernie's actually in the bus. Bernie is in the bus, right on cue, Bernie. Well done. How are you? Great. We wanted to go inside and sort of see where you can the money and how it's all done and you know what sort of facilities you got in there.
Yeah, you should go inside.
Can we go in?
About 6 years you should get.
Take us round. This is where you first sit, this sort of the ante-room, when you're really nervous, you're practicing your lines. What am I going to say? If I get an audience with Bernie Ecclestone, what am I actually going to say to him? And then you'll hear something like, Brando! And then you know that that's your call to go forward. And it's full of grey Alcantara and it's all very nicely done. very neat and tidy, as you can see. Immaculate. Bernie, what can you actually do from up here? What can you see?
Not a lot. I can see everything.
Yeah?
Yes. I don't do a lot.
But what you actually look, well, obviously your work's all done before you get here at the weekend.
Absolutely.
Then. What are you looking for? I mean, you can see that all around the track. You can what? You can home in on what?
We're monitoring. This is the host broadcast feed on this left-hand screen.
Yeah.
And this is the pictures we produce for the pay-per-view with the six different channels.
Yeah.
So we keep our eye on that. See what's going on.
Now, it's a fairly nerve-wracking experience to sort of come in here and see you. Have you ever imagined what it's like standing knocking on that door down there?
No. If you want to sit here, I'll go out and knock the door and see. I mean, I'm happy to learn.
But I can't give you the nerve-wracking interview when you get here.
You give me a nerve-wracking driving that car you've been running around here.
Are you going to come in it?
No.
Why?
Because I'm going to have a nerve-wracking... You're going to get your own back from me over the last 20 years.
Team McLaren Mercedes have 3 motorhomes in the paddock. One for the main sponsor, one for the engine supplier Mercedes-Benz, and their own mission control. Now, there's only so much space in a Formula One paddock, as you can imagine, and they're limited on the ground area. McLaren's solution, if you can't go out, go up. And when you go up into that McLaren motorhome, you're up at the top. Ron's office, he's in a meeting at the moment, so we won't bother him, is at one end, and then we move through. And the next thing we find is the communication centre. The press officer here communicating with the world, letting them know how the McLaren team is doing so far this weekend. then on to video entry, phone, telecommunications, staying in touch with base back in England. And through then here to a 10-seater video conferencing room to speak with the sponsors and show them presentations and really do good deals with the heavy hitters. Well, we've seen where the bosses operate from at McLaren. What about the drivers? Well, they're back here underneath the bus. And in here we find David Coulthard having a crafty sip of red wine. DC, initially it looks a bit like a sort of a coal bunker back here where you operate from, but actually it's quite cosy, like a bolt hole, yeah?
Oh, this is great. This is where we come in between sessions and we can shower in here. We've got a steam room. Can watch all the times and a video if we need to of what's happened during the session. And as it's the end of the day, we can also relax, have a glass of wine and talk about tomorrow.
With the power and the glamour and the glory and the money involved in Formula One, it's very, very easy for your feet to leave the ground and you lose touch with reality. Well, this is where you come to be reconnected, because Karl-Heinz certainly knows how to put you back in touch with reality. Really, what do you enjoy most about your relationship with the drivers?
Well, the good thing is that not only drivers from our team, but as you know, from different teams come along, which become a sort of friendly relationship. So they sometimes come and want a bite to eat, or a glass of wine, or even when it's bad, a glass of schnapps.
And you treat them all with the same irreverence, you give them plenty of stick, yeah?
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's what I learned from the English, to give them always a hard time.
The English sense of humour.
Correct.
Well, the hospitality is fantastic here, the food is fantastic. I think in true tradition we need a quick schnapps, Karl-Heinz, yeah? Okay.
Martin.
Eins, zwei, drei.
Hang on. A big one for you.
The same old tricks, yeah, the same old tricks. Eins, zwei, drei. Cheers. Cheers.
Alexander Wurz may not have had the best of races at his home event in Austria last week, but he is having an excellent first full season. He's a charming bloke, he's got racing in his blood, and he's had a meteoric rise to the top, as he told Louise Goodman.
Monte Carlo, it's the Grand Prix driver's preferred address. Alex Wurz may be the new kid on the block, but he's slipped straight into the way of life and the millionaire's playground. The bright lights of the big city are all a far cry from the sleepy Austrian countryside where young Alex spent his childhood. Whereabouts did you grow up?
Oh, I grew up actually in the dead part of Austria, where the dogs say goodnight to the cats. And basically the whole area is around 10-20 years behind the normal time. And, but it was very quiet and had nice countryside. It is on the completely north of Austria, close to the Czechoslovakia border.
Did you go to races a lot when you were a child?
Actually, I was produced in Sweden on a race, not on the race circuit, but hopefully in a hotel. But they told me a few years ago that was in Sweden, and my father won a European Championship race there. And then I grew up actually on the circuit. We always traveled throughout Europe for the rallycross events. And I remember all the victories. He won 3 times the European Championship. And I all have this in my mind. And the beginning in the school, I said, like others say, they want to be a pilot or a doctor. I said, I want to be a race driver. And now I'm a race driver.
Wurz began his career on 2 wheels racing BMX bikes. His star quality was instantly apparent, and he was thrust into the media spotlight at the tender age of 12 when he won the BMX World Championships.
I remember after the World Championship was my first interview. It was funny to see it. But it was good in one way, because when you're used to praise and media from such a young age on, you can cope with and handle it much easier when you're older.
So that's helped you a lot in your career now?
Yes, definitely.
And what a career it's been. Alex got his big break into Formula One with Benetton and rewarded the team with a podium finish in only his 3rd Grand Prix. What's it like living in Monaco?
Oh, that's really different to Austria. If you see Austria here, all the forest, quiet, a lot of space, and then you move to Monaco, where it's the first time for me living in a city. Normally I always had a house next to the forest, and there are no forests, it's too dry. So you have a nice countryside and nice hills, but completely different to Austria. And I have to get used to it. But now I enjoy it, and I have the supermarket and the baker just next to my doors, and I don't need a car to go somewhere. And you have the sea, so I've got swim in the sea, surfing or whatever, and it's nice. It's also nice. I enjoy it.
You must miss all of this.
A bit, yes, to be honest. But it's not that I'm not allowed to come back, and I have still my family here. I come back to Austria a few days. Basically, the few days makes me happy.
You're quite interested in fitness, sport fitness,
yeah.
Aren't you? How did that come about?
I don't know. Basically, since I'm able to walk, so when I was 3, I don't know, with 3 you start to walk maybe. I always did sports and wanted to be active, and I still have it, because first of all I need it for my sport, for Formula 1, to be fit, but mainly because I enjoy it. It's fun to do sport, to be active, and then have a good feeling. Maybe not while you're doing it, sometimes I do it quite extreme and hard, but especially afterwards it's good.
What about your girlfriend? Does she live here or in Monaco?
She's still based in Austria, but she's, most of the time when I'm in Monte Carlo, she's coming down. So basically, it doesn't matter where we are, we're together. And even not on the same race, we are together in our minds.
How long have you known each other? A long time?
Oh, with Karen is her name. I'm together now since nearly 7 years, so quite long.
Does she come to the races?
Some races, yes, some not.
And you're engaged, aren't you?
Yeah.
What does she think about you racing?
She's not the biggest fan of motor racing, so that she doesn't know about wing settings and tire compounds. But she helps me, and she accepts it. That's basically the best what she can do.
Very tempting to say that tomorrow's German Grand Prix is going to be another McLaren-Mercedes benefit. I'm not too sure that it is. We've got a funny old grid with Michael Schumacher down in 9th place, Jacques Villeneuve right up there, Damon Hill up there. What's your guess?
Well, the McLarens do seem to have the edge on pace, but as ever, this is a really tough racetrack on transmission and engines. Race strategy, a long pit lane will play a role, and it's really tough, I think, just behind the two McLarens. They're all lapping roughly the same speed. I think it's going to be an exciting race. Michael's got to come through, and of course he's got to pass his brother Ralph, and he had a big job doing that in Austria.
And as usual, there's the tyre business. What's the strategy going to be? And up at the front of the grid, the times are close enough for different strategies to make all the difference.
It's a long lap, and they don't want to stop too long here because of that long pit lane, so I suspect a one-stopper, but they've got to keep their eyes open.
Well, a lot of questions to be answered tomorrow. You can get the answers by watching the race live on ITV. It starts at 12:20. Enjoy it. We're going to.
It's more fun to compute. It's more fun to compute. It's more fun to compute. It's more fun to compute.